The kidney is a small bean-shaped organ only found in vertebrates. Now when cells convert nutrients into ATP, they release a toxic byproduct we call metabolic waste. The purpose of our kidney is to get the waste out of our bodies by filtering it from the blood and excreting it as urine. The kidney is made up of three main layers: the cortex, the medulla, and the renal pelvis. Millions of tiny filtration units exist here, and they are known as nephrons. Nephrons are the things in the kidney actually doing the filtration, and they work mainly through two simple principles: active and passive transport. We get passive transport when molecules move across a membrane without any encouragement, as in they will do it without using energy. It's simply a product of the laws of entropy. Given enough time, things will tend towards being mixed together and homogeneous. Our kidneys are actually smart enough to take advantage of this property of the universe when filtering waste from our blood. When particles that are of a high concentration have the chance to become a lower concentration, they will, and that's what happens in diffusion when particles cross a membrane. Osmosis is similar to this, but it's instead to do with particles moving to a region of higher solute concentration. In general, we call this sort of thing passive transport, as opposed to active transport, which requires energy to work. Like I said earlier, the nephron is where blood is actually filtered. The first step in the filtration process is to overcompensate and get rid of almost everything from the blood. When we're done with that, we can start adding bits back later. The glomerulus is where this mass filtration takes place. The glomerulus is a ball of capillaries connected to the bloodstream and sits inside a thing called the Bowman's capsule. Its role is to filter everything from the blood other than plasma and proteins. The way it works is based on size. Smaller molecules are able to fit through the capillaries and make it to the Bowman's capsule. Larger things can't fit and stay behind in the bloodstream. The molecules that made it into the Bowman's capsule are now called the filtrate, and it is the rest of the nephron's job to get the important parts of the filtrate back into the blood. Specifically, the blood needs water, glucose, bicarbonate ions, potassium, sodium, chloride ions, magnesium, and calcium. The first step in doing this is to travel through the proximal convoluted tubule. Here, the blood will receive amino acids, glucose, bicarbonate ions, potassium, and sodium ions through active transport. Since the blood now has a higher solute concentration, it gives the water in the filtrate a chance to rejoin with the blood via osmosis. Now, in order for the blood to maintain a safe pH level, it strips itself of a few hydrogen ions and dumps them into the filtrate. The next step in the blood filtration process is to travel through the loop of Henle. This long tubule allows plenty of water to rejoin the blood, as well as sodium, potassium, and chloride ions. Once the filtrate has travelled its way through the loop of Henle, it must enter the distal convoluted tubule, where sodium and potassium ions are reabsorbed thanks to active transport. The last step in our voyage through the nephron is to enter the collecting ducts. Even more water is absorbed here, and potassium and hydrogen ions have their last chance to return to the blood through active transport. Any molecules that didn't make it back into the blood are now considered urine. Now that the blood has everything it needs again, the body can dispose of the urine. It's important that the body keeps a balance between water and salt. Too much water can lead to overhydration, and too little water can lead to dehydration. Both of these conditions can be fatal. The body balances water and salt concentration using two hormones, ADH and aldosterone. ADH stands for antidiuretic hormone, but some people call it vasopressin too. Anyway, these hormones both affect the way our kidneys absorb water in different ways. ADH increases how much water we reabsorb, while aldosterone affects how much salt we absorb, thus increasing how much water we reabsorb thanks to osmosis. Inside the brain there is a thing called the hypothalamus, and inside that there are these things called osmoreceptors. Their purpose is to detect changes in the saltiness of the blood, and they respond by making you feel thirsty and telling the pituitary gland to release some ADH into the bloodstream. The hormone makes the collecting ducts in the kidney more permeable, allowing more water to be absorbed. This starts a feedback loop of telling the brain to release more or less ADH until the brain is satisfied. Above the kidney there is a thing called the adrenal gland, and you guessed it, this guy produces aldosterone. When there is too little water in your blood, your hypothalamus can tell, and your kidneys can also tell if your blood pressure is too low. They respond to this by telling the adrenal gland to start pumping out some aldosterone, making the walls of the nephron more permeable to sodium. More water is then drawn in thanks to osmosis. Like with ADH, this cycle continues until the brain and the kidneys are happy. And that concludes my short video on the kidneys. I hope you learned something, and thanks for watching.